Welcome to Overdrive, with me as always Tim and Wilf, and interesting topic for conversation today. We're going to be looking at the two Ferrari F1 drivers. Vettel, has he been washed up, or is he a wash up? And Leclerc, real deal, is he the real deal? Has he got raw talent? Is he right for the team? Going to hand this one over to you, to Wilf, to start us off on this discussion.
Right. Leclerc he's the real deal. He is the real deal. He is going to become Ferrari's number one. Whether Vettel can establish himself in the season to come up is one of the big proving points. I don't think Leclerc has to prove himself. I think he has already proved himself, and thinking he is that contender for the number one drive. It's Vettel who's got to prove himself. I don't think he's washed up, because I still think it is in him to be competitive. But I just think Leclerc's just going to put him into the dust.
Okay. Tim, I'm sure you'll agree on the Leclerc bit, but what about Vettel?
Yeah, there's no doubt now that Leclerc is basically one of the biggest talents to emerge in recent years. And actually, if we look back at it, it's no real surprise if you see the guy's previous racing. He's the only person that could actually beat Verstappen back in the junior ranks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's proved himself on the biggest stage of all. And let's face it, whether you like Ferrari or not, they are the team with the biggest following. They are the biggest stage in the Formula One paddock. So if he can go there and do it, he's literally made a four-time world champion look ordinary. And that, unfortunately for Vettel, is probably the writing on the wall. There was the arguments when Daniel Ricciardo joined Red Bull, and frankly, Vettel had a pretty bad season. But people said, "Oh, he's going to move to Ferrari." I mean, what was he really going to do there? But realistically, I think Vettel was one of the champions that's been found out. He had great machinery, and when he's got the right machinery under him, he's super quick. But if someone else's equal or frankly better talent is in the same machinery, he doesn't do well. And frankly, Leclerc beat him actually, even with team orders against him.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that so if the team is literally structured against you, by all rights, the other guy should actually prevail. And yet still, Leclerc still actually wiped the floor with Vettel. So I think that really says, that realistically, he's going to see out his contract, and then I think we're going to find him in touring cars in Germany.
or stop racing at all. Do you think that could be a possibility?
I think he'll go do the GT series.
Okay, interesting thought there from Wilf. It's possible, Fernando's gone that way, Button's gone that way, so it is possible.
Yeah, but realistically, is he washed up? Yes, I'm afraid so. I think it's been 2 times now that newer teammates have come in and frankly outclassed him straight away.
But even against an older teammate, Mark Webber, it was only because of either because of team orders or because of Seb himself ignoring team orders, multi-21, that he ended up with an advantage.
Very much, and there's various people that will tell you that, it's real winners have that, sort of killer instinct to ignore things. But frankly, there are people which, have gone out there and actually just driven a lot better and become champions through it. Now, whether you like Hamilton or not, it took horrendous reliability problems and, frankly, some amazing luck from a teammate for the teammate to actually beat him in the same machinery. And, frankly, if you took the reliability record into context, frankly, by all rights, Hamilton should have won that championship by about 100 points.
Yeah, okay.
So, realistically, if you are a bona fide multi-world champion, you should be able to deal with anyone on their day. And I don't think he can. When the pressure's on, Vettel cracks, and he was doing it very visibly again last year. There were some very, very silly moments. I'm sorry, when you paid that much and you literally storm out like a petulant kid and move around the first and second place signs, sorry, no, that says I've lost it.
I think there was a big problem with Ferrari getting clouded by the championship wins of Vettel and believing that Vettel could do what Schumacher did to Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they put a lot of pressure on him to emulate that. Yeah. And he is not in the same standing as that. And do you know what I mean? He can't lift himself and elevate himself and just out-dominate your competitor. Do you know what I mean?
No,
or your...
And let's not forget that the Schumacher era, it wasn't just Schumacher, was it? He took with him when he moved from Benetton to Ferrari. He took Ross Brawn, Rory Byrne, two of the leading guys that were at Benetton at the time during his championship winning seasons in '94 and '95. He got them to move across as well, and even then, it still took a few years for everything to gel and for everything to get together and build the momentum before they won the championship. Seb was never going to be able to take Adrian Newey across to Ferrari. So the key thing that or even a lot of the technical team. So really, that key thing that Schumacher bought wasn't just him; it was him with his team and his support network, if you like, which Vettel hasn't been able to do.
Yeah, that's a very astute observation, to be honest. It's a case of, Schumacher brought the entire package, and to be honest, yes, he did. And realistically, it's, I don't suppose that scenario is going to ever happen again so much. But it was basically lift and shift entire winning team over and get them to reset up over in Italy.
Yeah. Something that was quite interesting, just thinking about Vettel under pressure. I remember a conversation with Mark Webber, and Mark had said one of the funny things about Vettel is he has a weakness. He has an unbelievable weakness when it comes to hitting the pit lane speed limiter. And I hadn't really thought about it before, but if you ever go back and watch races, Vettel has an absolute problem slowing down. You often see him lock up as he's coming into the pit lane so that he can slow down enough to hit the speed limiter. And that happens a lot when he's under pressure, and I think we're going to see that a lot this year because I think he is under pressure with keeping his contract. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens during those pit stops, if how many times he locks up coming in to hit the pit lane speed limiter. Yeah,
and I think we've seen other things that frankly crop up in his driving as well. For instance, the unforced errors of just randomly spinning at times and then trying to blame it on other people. It's normally it's his closest rival, and he's always the first one onto the radio trying to blame other people, and you end up looking at it going, I've got the bird's eye view here, and that really isn't what's happened, and I think you that, but it's almost like he pathologically needs to blame someone else.
Yeah,
I mean, a realistic pressure put on Vettel is, can he make it into, well, what could be the top 4 positions? Can he be one of the top 4? Because as current standings, the way the drivers are and the talent that is there, I don't think he can make top 4.
Okay. So, Wilf's prediction for this year, Vettel won't be in the top 4.
I don't even think he'll be in the top 6.
Wow. Okay. Okay, that's going to be interesting when the season eventually does get underway, to see how that prediction pans out. I'm going to hold that one down already. Tim, what do you think on that?
Quite honestly, it's I don't quite know how the Ferrari's going to be, but I think there will be a distinct gap between him and Leclerc. I think Leclerc is going to be able to make that car do things that actually Vettel cannot, and that was evident last year. If we look at the qualifying, laps that he put in, some of them were absolutely amazing. This is a guy still learning the trade of racing in the very top formula, and yet he is banging out laps that actually Vettel can't even hold a candle to.
Do you wonder if Vettel, having always been the young upstart who's come in and troubled the team, he did it when he came in test driver replacing Robert Kubica at BMW Sauber for one race. He did it when he then came into Red Bull. When he came into Toro Rosso, he did it in Red Bull. He did it again at Ferrari. Do you think that's the thing? Is that he's always been used to being that young underdog doing the unsettling? He's now having someone doing that to him, and he can't deal with it.
I think there is certainly an element of that, to be honest with you. I think the roles have been reversed. Some drivers seem to almost have a fluid movement through the sort of stages of a career, and he's not really getting that. If we take Hamilton as a great example, he came in as the young upstart. Now he's the multi-time world champion and the gentleman driver. And if we look at it, he's evolved very, very well throughout that, and actually he's likely to leave in that sort of strong position that Schumacher did when he left racing, the first time anyway. That's basically the path. Whereas, frankly, Vettel is getting to that stage where actually he's risking embarrassment, really. When you're a four-time world champion, that's a pretty dominant position. But I don't suspect we're going to remember him as a four-time world champion. I think we might actually remember him as that guy that really got embarrassed at Ferrari.
Wilf?
But on the counterpoint, right, is like you're saying, he's always been the underdog, right? Now he's on top, and he is the one that's not being the underdog, but put in a position, is he now back as the underdog? Because obviously you take
But he's
Hamilton.
now the older, more experienced member of the team. Where previously he's gone into teams as being the young, inexperienced. He's now the old, more experienced team leader, four-time world champion, and he's having his life being made very, very hard.
But that could make him the underdog because nobody's expecting him. Everybody's writing him off, right?
You've just written him off.
I have, yeah, because I don't think the two Mercedes, right, are going to be above him. Leclerc's going to be above him. Well, there's the top three positions. Mm-hmm. Max will probably be above him. So that leaves him, best position he can muster is fifth, right? And with the other upcoming drivers, if Albon can get his head out of his arse and actually drive properly, he may be able to get above him.
And let's not forget Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. McLaren had a massive improvement last year. And if that continues, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. The Racing Point car, okay, there's a lot of controversy over that because it looks like a blatant copy of last year's Mercedes. But if you can't beat them, join them, I guess is the is the way they are.
They're not doing it. They're not doing anything wrong. Do you know what I mean? The livery and stuff may look identical, but do you know what I mean? It's not. They're not actually breaching rules, are they?
No,
it looks similar.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
frankly, the Toro Rosso always used to look similar. The Alpha Tauri now, that always looked similar, and to be honest, that went on for years. But
that was under a different set of rules and regulations where the design for both the Red Bull and the Toro Rosso were done by Red Bull Design, and they could design two cars, whereas now each car has to be designed individually, and there can't be any inter-swapping of or whatever. There's only a really restrictive list of parts that can be changed between the different teams. So slightly different set of technical regulations when that was going on. But yeah, you're right. There's always been a little bit of an element there of things looking very similar. Go back even into the 90s where the Ligier for a period in the mid-90s, the Ligier and the Benettons looked very, very similar until the Ligier was sold to Alain Prost for a couple of years. So yeah, it's those sorts of things have been around for a while.
Yeah, and this is it. It's always going to be these similarities, and realistically, you have a fixed set of regulations, so the cars are always going to be rather similar.
Yeah.
It's I think there's just an element of why didn't we think of it from the other teams? It's always been there, and actually, if they'd thought about it, maybe they could have done something similar.
Yeah, good point. So there's quite a bit of potential out there. Leclerc, I think we're all agreed, is definitely the real deal. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does when the season kicks off. Vettel, Tim, you think he's completely washed up. Wilf, you don't think he's going to have the best season. You only think he's going to be off to some form of touring car after this. Again,
this will be one unless he gets roped in, getting stuffed into a major long contract where it's all about money. I think he's going to be seeing the next season, and then he's off. But he's definitely out. From my prediction, he's definitely out of the top 6 or 6. From the highest he'll get is 6.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see him going to Mercedes. I definitely can't see him going back to Red Bull. It doesn't give him a huge amount of other options, does it?
No, I don't see him doing the swan song, to be honest. The fact is that in wheel-to-wheel combat, he's been found wanting. Why Mercedes going to want that? It's they've got the 6-time world champion sat there. They don't need to take a risk on Vettel, who's frankly not been performing.
Or does he go Formula E?
To be honest, I think he could. If he carries on, he's likely to damage his legacy, and I think that's something he needs to take into account. He's a wealthy man. I think he just needs to take a little step back and think about the future, and actually rather than becoming that 4-time world champion joke, actually trying to reinvent something.
If he goes Formula E, like you say, Tim, he's going to ruin part of his own legacy, because there was a massive shift in focus onto the Formula E. Right now, if he shifts his attention to DTM stuff like that, although there's a major fan base for that, right? He can keep himself in line with the German fanatics that love him, so he can keep his legacy if he stays there. But if he goes Formula E, I think there's too many people in Formula E that will just walk all over him, because it's more brutal in Formula E, like in competitive wise with the racing, then I don't think he can handle, because it is bump and grind in there, and he can't handle that.
Okay, some interesting thoughts, guys. I think we'll leave that there. So Leclerc, the real deal. Vettel, this is probably his last season. Let's see how that all pans out. Thank you once again for watching Overdrive, and we hope to be back with you very soon. Stay safe.